Welcome to the Workshop Recorder. I want to share with you what I've been working on lately. This is a little Delfin submarine, Dolphin in English. It is the first operational submarine in the Russian Navy. It was laid down in 1902 and had a service life that extended to 1917. The Delfin submarine was a gasoline electric boat. It was laid down in 1902. It was ordered in 1901. And it entered service in 1903. It had a crew of 22 men. That's hard to imagine 22 guys fitting inside this little boat. But it was a pretty decent little boat. It had a top speed of 9 knots while surfaced and 4.5 knots while submerged. And having read a bit on submarine history, that was actually a pretty respectable speed. Although 9 knots on the surface seems to be a little bit slow when you compare it to slightly later boats that came in World War I, especially those of the Germans. Delfin carried 2 torpedoes. These were slung from a rail on the hull. This submarine was served a long time. It entered service in 1904, 1905. That I see different sources saying different things. This is the progress so far on this little sub. It's not a bad looking little submarine. It's actually kind of a neat little kit. It's got a lot of little details on it. A lot of the submarine was carried on the superstructure and outside the hull, so you get to see a lot of detail. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. Let me show you some photos of the progress and talk about what I've done here and let you know how this build has gone. Some additions that I did to this. The kit comes with some photo etch parts that represent the diving plane guards, and at first I thought, well, these must not be flat. These photo etch pieces are flat. Surely they're bars or it's bar stock or metal tube they used. And so I replaced these with bent brass wire, and they look they're really strong. I can actually hold the submarine by these parts, which if I had used the kit parts, I wouldn't have been able to touch them once I installed them. It was not a good kit design. But I have discovered through research that these diving plane guards actually do seem to be flat, and the kit parts are more prototypical. However, I still would have chosen to replace them because trying to glue a photo etch part to a hull, a butt joint like that, wasn't going to give me any strength. I also replaced some of the masts, and I added to the ship or to the boat some stanchions for handrails and for all the rigging that you see. The photo etch parts also come with some lifting eyes and some various tie downs on the boat. I replaced all of those. I wasn't going to mess with the photo etch parts. I replaced them with very fine wire. All right, so the way I painted this, you can see that there's gray on top, and you can see that the gray kind of corrodes away as you get lower on the hull, and then you get down to that no paint. And this is supposed to represent a submarine in active duty, active service. And I'm going to display this submarine on a diorama base, having an overhaul being grounded. So I first primed it in black. I used Mr. Surfacer 1200 primer, and then I went on with red wood, MRP's red wood. It's a World War I color intended for interiors of cockpits and things like that, but it's also a really good rust color. I went in with that along with MRP's dark rust and did a lot of modeling under there, gave it a nice rusty effect. And then I went on the superstructure with MRP. I think it's a ghost gray, one of the grays for U.S. aircraft. It was a good, nice medium gray for the superstructure. And photos show that the hull was probably painted at some point, but frequently didn't show paint. And so I wanted to represent that paint wearing off. I went along the waterline with a salt mask before I sprayed the gray on the top part of that hull. And so what you get is kind of a nice grizzled look of that paint coming off of there through a pretty rigorous history. And so yeah, it's a nice little kit, and I'm pleased with the paint job. I've begun the oil washing. You can see some of the rust streaks in the photos especially. And it's just about done. I've got to put some rigging on there and finish up the weathering, and then I will be ready to build a base for this and to display it as if it were being serviced and overhauled. thanks for joining me on the Workshop Recorder. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. I'm not posting very many videos frequently, but when I do, I hope you enjoy them and you'll give me a thumbs up. So happy modeling to you, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.